with that? Hands up if you don't care about ventilation. I care about ventilation. I need to breathe. I don't care if it's packed, I just need I need air. Okay, always stand up. I always stand under the air conditioner in the MTR when I go in there. You know, right next to the, right? It's actually about 2 inches from my face because I'm tall in the MTR. Right. Okay, so we have surveys of customer satisfaction. MTR is doing that all the time. You have measures of market share. Where did that come from? You saw that in the game. You played the interactive game, right? Did you not? Yes, you did. And there was a market share of the techie general manager. That was changing, right? Okay, you know what I'm talking about. See how the game becomes useful in the lecture? I can refer that. You know what we're talking about. Internal business perspective. Learning objective 3. 3 methods to identify quality problems. Okay, here's the deal. Here's the deal, people. Are you ready? Turn to one of your early slides where, just a short summary of what I'm talking about. You have financial measures. Financial measures. You have non-financial. Yes? Okay. You have the C managers. What do we mean? CEO, CFO, CIO. How do you get their attention? You use financial. You don't necessarily use non-financial. But when they make decisions to allocate resources, then you can use financial measures to help get you feedback about how an initiative is going. You see what I mean? Attract attention, financial. Execution of initiatives, non-financial. You with me with that? Okay? See, different horses for courses. Different measures for different purposes. Sorry you can't see that. That's not very... I apologise for that. All right? Let me bring that down. Okay, it's coming down. All right? Now, one part, if you're implementing some quality initiative here, then there are 3 ways of tracking the performance of some initiative. One way is by use of a control chart. The second way is the use of a Pareto diagram. And the third way is a cause-effect diagram. How many of you have seen what any of these are? Have you seen any of these before? Okay, what was that? Did you see? It
was a cause and effect diagram.
Yeah, some people call it a fishbone diagram. Why? Because it looks like the fishbones. Okay, all right. And I know through discussions with a real consumer electronics manufacturer where there was a problem with the screen on the phone, and that was caused by a chemical reaction of the protection of the delivery module. And when they pull that the delivery packaging off, there was a residue, and that counteracted with the other glue, and it caused a problem on the screen. It took 2 weeks for the engineers to find that problem, and they did do a cause-effect diagram. Okay, so companies really use a cause-effect diagram. Okay, and that was, we're talking about only November last year. Okay, all right. So it's real. Okay, it's real. Cause-effect diagrams are real. So here is a control diagram. Which one is in control? Which one is out of control? Put your hand up if you think line C is in control. Out of control. Okay, what about B? Is B out of control? Possibly, absolutely. Whereas A might be within control, because you've got within spec here 1 standard deviation. It depends what standards you require. Look, all productive activity has some variance. Class, I'm serious. Do you remember the first job I had? You don't remember? I worked in a petrol station, petrol depot. Okay, so every morning we had to measure the petrol. Now, the temperature only had to change by 1 or 2 degrees, and the inventory of petrol could go up by 200, 300, 400 litres. How does that happen? Because petrol is a chemical. It expands and contracts with temperature. And that's the same with a lot of things. You're working with materials, you're working with productive processes, you're always going to get variance. Control is not about, we don't want any variance. Okay? It's about, long as we have variance within our tolerances, within our standards. Okay? So a control chart gives you feedback over time. We've got some variance, but is it within our tolerance that we have set for that activity? Okay? A Pareto chart, the idea is to set up the thing that operates, or to find the defect that is occurring most often, and the defect that is being caused by something least often. Most cases, copies are fuzzy and unclear. That's the most problematic defect of this product. Paper is not feeding properly. That doesn't happen as often. So what are you going to do? What are you going to focus on if you want to improve the quality? What do you focus on? Hello? Yeah, I can have some of them too. All right. Which one? Who's going to focus on the copies are fuzzy and unclear? Okay, and what about over here? You going to focus on that? Yes, after you've fixed all the others, right? But there'll be other problems in the future anyway. So in the end, you just want to focus on the thing that is causing most problems, the cause of the biggest cause. You always deal with the big things first rather than the small things. That's what we mean by Pareto chart. And finally, you know what we mean by the cause-effect diagram. I just gave you an example of electronics manufacturer. All right, so what about internal business perspective? Percentage of defective products, average repair time, percentage of rework products, number of different types of defects found. So there are a lot of issues here. And we can actually have that measurement, elements of cost of quality reports. We can have measures under each of those areas. We can have measures that give us feedback about how we're going. And not just have a final report that's too late. We can have measures that actually give us feedback during the process. Okay, so non-financial measures, you see, can I have your, ladies and gentlemen, can I have your attention again? Look, ultimately, you want to tell them good news, right? You don't want to tell them bad news. How do you do that? You look to the financial measures to give you regular feedback about how you are doing on the prevention, appraisal, internal failure, and external failure. You want to find out about these problems before the financial report is done. Because it's too late. The financial report is an economic representation of the past. Okay? Your non-financial performance measures, that means any of these, gives you a chance to deal with issues immediately because you're getting feedback straight away. Okay? Either through fishbone diagram, Pareto analysis, control charts. Okay, so now we can look at the example of the copier problem. Here is the last thing that we want to cover in today's lecture, or the very important thing, and that is the following. We have problems, right? We have quality problems with this example. Yes? Question? We have problems in this example. They have quality problems. So you need to go to management and say, look, we have this problem. Here's our financial statements, right? So what else do you have to do to be a competent accountant? Well, here are two alternative solutions. You see? Not just give them, oh, here's the report, deal with it. You've got to be proactive. Oh, here's the report, I got your attention. So the C manager is going to say, like, they don't know what to do. Put your hand up if you think CEOs know what to do. Or CFOs or CIOs. Maybe they don't know what to do. You've got to help them. All right? All right, I've got your attention. Here's what we can do. All right? Step one, get the attention. Step two, here's what we can do. And so that is what this part is about. Here is one scenario. We can inspect incoming failures, or we can redesign the frames, okay? We can do one or the other. We can do one or the other. We can't do both. And so now here is a financial description of both of these options, okay? And that's what the analysis is. So when you're working through this for your tutorial, think about it. This is step 2. Step 1 is getting their attention. This is step 2. Here are 2 scenarios. So which one would you cover? Based on this, if we redesign, that means we focus on redesign, we focus on prevention here. This is focusing on appraisal. This one might be long term. You might have to invest in this every year, okay? And there the benefits come down here. And so ultimately, there's $4 million saved here and only $3 million saved here. So what you've done is put a non-financial problem, a quality problem, into financial language. All right? Number 1, get their attention. You've got the 4 sets. If we follow this trend, we're going to be in trouble. What are we going to do? All right, here are 2 scenarios. We can invest more in appraisal, or we can invest more in prevention. You see that? One step, 2 step, it makes you look professional as an accountant. You see? So that's why we are teaching you these 2-step reports in this lecture, okay? So here, the estimated incremental costs are here. Cost savings from less rework, customer support and repair is over here. And then you can explain to the manager, well, here's the increased contribution margin from higher sales, because now we are making a much better copier here because of the redesign, not because of the prevention activity. All right, so the advantage of financial measures of quality, it helps focuses managers' attention on the costs. It helps in problem solving by comparing costs, and it helps in evaluating the trade-offs. And we just gave you an example of how you evaluate a trade-off of investing more in prevention against more in appraisal. Okay, so that's learning objective number 5. If we measure things, non-financial measures are easy to quantify and understand. They direct attention and give feedback. They help you manage in between in a faster way. You put in the initiative. Once they've invested in the initiative, so the managers say, okay, let me backtrack. Number 1, you get their attention. Number 2, you give them 2 scenarios. Prevention, appraisal. Okay? All right, then they say, okay, let's do a prevention. Okay, so you've got all that buckets of money to put a prevention initiative in place. So now you give them a report, oh, how are we going? Well, it's going to be another 12 months before you give them a financial report, or 6 months, okay? But in the meantime, you can measure through quality control charts and other non-financial performance measures about, are things improving or getting worse? You see what I mean? So non-financial measures, they may not get attention of senior management, but they help give feedback about how new initiatives are going, okay? So in summary, I could show you this at the start, but I'll show you at the end. Do you have this in your slide, yes or no? Do you have this in your slide?
No.
Okay, those who said yes, put your hand up. Those who say no, put your hand up. Okay, this is in your slide. If not, I will send you a signed colour copy, okay, so you can have for your souvenir. This is basically the big picture, all right? We want to get attention. They make big decisions. Pareto diagram, control chart, fishbone diagram. They're ways of helping to monitor and manage the initiative. You with me? All right? Yes, non-financial measures are not a good way of getting attention. Yes, non-financial measures are a good way of monitoring day-to-day operations. That's basically the whole framework there that we're working with. So what you have to do for your tutorial, you really need to know how to do those 2 types of financial statements. Okay, how to separate into those 4 categories and how to put together 2 scenarios. More advanced students, to get an A, you need to think a little bit more about the opportunity costs and the subjective costs that may be associated of one scenario versus another scenario, which is painted in the example in your lecture notes. Okay, so have a break. We'll see you after the break. Pardon? You can have a break.